Are you looking for actionable insights from the world's most inspiring individuals? The Built by Love podcast is on a mission to transform your life, your business, and your health. Tune in for impactful conversations with people who do business differently. Avoid burnout, acquire freedom, and live life fully on your own terms. With me, Pete Daly-Dickson, alongside Daniel Bussius. Could building with love save the world? It may sound dramatic, but we believe the stakes are that high. Your work matters. Your business matters. In this episode, Daniel and I discuss which historical figure we'd most like to interview for the Built by Love podcast, and why the challenge of building with love is both worthwhile and vitally important right now.
The biggest challenges, scariest situations I had was just about 4 years ago. I was on a TV show called The World's Toughest Race. It was 465 miles continuously, 24 hours nonstop, no technology. You were closed away from the outside world. And so you weren't using like compasses, like any digital compasses or anything like that. And it was an adventure race. You just kept going and you had to hit these markers. And it was in the Fijian island. It was mountains, it was volcanoes, it was jungles, rivers, the whole 9 yards. And so my team and I, we entered the race, which was crazy because we weren't professional adventure racers. We were going against professional elite teams that did this for a living. And here was this band of guys and girls that had really no purpose being there. And the starting gun goes off and we're navigating for hours through the river system to get out into the open ocean. And we're in a traditional Fijian kamaku, which is like basically it's a handmade wooden canoe with a sail. And then we're out in the Pacific open ocean that we have to navigate through these island chains to get to this desolate volcano island, to go climb the volcano and then come back down and then navigate back. Well, we did all that and we hit a storm in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And the boat started to sink. And the race had a navigational beacon at the top that was sending a signal. And what happened when the storm came over the mountains is all satellite communication got lost. And so the boat started sinking. It was hailing on us. There were 4-foot waves that were basically had made our boat immobile. And we were trying to like paddle with our paddles. And we're not getting anywhere, and the boat's stuck in the middle of the ocean. And so I'm assessing the situation, and the team's starting to freak out. One of them starting to get, I think, more stressed than anything, but started to get hypothermic. You know, the paddles down, shaking and shivering, and basically, so I'm looking at it, and I'm at the helm, the back, right, and I'm guiding the boat, and they're freaking out. And I'm like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Okay. We just need to get to this next island. And if we get to this next island, which was about 2 soccer fields away, it's like 2 football fields away. So it wasn't that far away. But the problem is the open ocean and the current that was moving through between the islands was turning this into this massive flow that was going to be very hard to navigate. Plus we had 4-foot waves hitting this tiny little boat. Needless to say, they're like, okay. And I'm like, if I can just get them to focus to get there, we're going to be okay. And so I'm watching the ridge line of this far off mountain on another island. And I'm trying to see the progress. Like if we make it to this point on this mountain peak as a marker, then we have a chance of getting there. And they're paddling and they're paddling and they're paddling. And I'm seeing the boat move a little bit and then go back. And so I already knew in my head, we're not making the island. We're not making it. The boat's going to sink and we're going to be in the ocean. And I don't know how good of the swimmers everyone was, but I know one of them had this beginning stages of hypothermia, which is crazy because you're in the Fijian Islands. You wouldn't think that would happen. But in a storm with wind and hail, that's actually can happen. I made the call. I was like, we have to call in for help. And when we finally tried to do it, satellite system is down. They had no idea. The race coordinators had no idea. The last point they had us in the ocean was 2 miles back. We had flares. So I was like, shoot off the flares. They shot off the 2 flares that we had with the flare gun. And a boat that was making it in on another island to get into for the storm saw it and turned around and decided to come back. And that's what saved us. And so I would say that was the hairiest situation. We got disqualified from the race for that. And we didn't want to give up. And I had this come to Jesus moment, if you dare say, where I'm on the boat and I was assessing the situation. And I was assessing, I know I'm a strong swimmer. I've surfed in 20-foot waves. I know I can make it to the next island. I can do that. But I don't know if the other three people on the boat are going to make it. Do I want to have a responsibility of maybe someone drowns on my watch where I know I could have solved that? And then furthermore, I knew that back home, I had a young son and a wife. What a selfish thing to do for me to try to continue this race and put other people, as well as myself, our lives in jeopardy just for something that was on the surface of like, we made it through the race. And so I'd say that was the scariest situation on more than one front. It was one of those things that really digs into your DNA of what are you built with and what is your focus of life? And at the end, I chose love. I chose my family.
I can only go with the name that immediately came to mind. And all human beings are immensely complex creatures. And just because somebody is known for something doesn't mean that all aspects of their personality are positive. And I know that there are negative aspects to this person, but I also know that love was at the core of his message. That was Mahatma Gandhi. Just he just imbued this non-violent love. I think it would be fascinating to have a conversation with Gandhi.
That would be amazing. Just the perseverance and the mindset of, transforming the world really through love and nonviolence that would be an incredible podcast. I think the person for me, I'm a man of faith. It's just kind of a no-brainer for me is if I could interview Jesus Christ. And if I dare say like, okay, well, that's kind of if you're someone who has a Christian faith, right, then you're probably going to say that just on a moment for there. Cause I'm kind of a geek in a lot of different things. And one of them is history. And when you read up on what really happened in history, not the cliff notes of like the big things of like, whatever, but you read up like really like the day to day and how like the societies lived and ruled and repercussions of things, right? Before Jesus's time, during Jesus's time, and hundreds, if not thousands of years after Jesus's time, the level of known violence that was just accepted as the norm is incredible when you read through it. History, like going all the way from like the settlers in America, in the United States, of just amongst themselves and even the Native Americans, and just you go back like the Romans, you go back to every society and you look at how just the value of life did not exist and how they treated each other and the level of violence and in that time, and you look at the dynamic of what he taught in a world that is just unspeakable of normal things that were like, oh, this is just a normal thing. This person did this or whatever, or we don't like these people, so we're just going to go do these atrocious things to them. Not just like kill them, but like the level of torture before they died. That was just a commonplace thing across the world. And then he's teaching something that's so radical is profound. It's profound. If I can for a moment elaborate on something that I firmly believe in, and I think that politics and politicians are not going to change the world. I think the true catalyst that's going to change the world, make the world a better place across the realm of health and the quality of food products and the quality of experiences and not going to war and all of the things that are atrocious and that are wrong and happening out there, damaging to people and environments and animals in our planet, of course. I think the true catalyst of change is, like I said, it's not government, it's not politicians or politics, it's people, but more so than just people, it's entrepreneurs.
Amen.
And that's going to be a domino effect, and money drives the world. And so that will go all the way up to the top, that politicians, policies, laws, and the way that our nations and cities and states behave will be transformed. So if there's just one person that listens to anything that changes the trajectory of how they make a positive impact in the world, ultimately that's millions, if not billions of people that will be impacted. That ripple effect is invaluable and infinite. And so I just want to inspire one person, because that one person will change the world.
For me, there's more a sense of this podcast is about holding up a mirror. We know what we look like when we're looking in a mirror, and we know what love is when it is reflected to us in those that we love, and the situations that we're in that we love. And I think Daniel and I and our guests can just do that consistently, week after week after week. Just continue to hold this mirror up of, this is love, and this is how your life and others' lives can change and grow as a result of that. That's what will do the convincing, if that's even the right word.
Right? Or if someone looks sad and you're passing by and like, say something nice to cheer them up. You never know the battle that someone's fighting, and all of us are fighting silent battles. It comes to mind one instance of, there was a personal trainer I had, and I was actually training to go to this adventure race in Fiji. Really good guy. And I had no idea that he was fighting a drug addiction. And one day he had called me up randomly. He's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Can I just talk to you? Like, nothing about business." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." And he showed up, and I remember I was kind of taken back. And, he was kind of, he had some cuts on him, and he looked like he hadn't showered, he looked disheveled, What I didn't know is he was fighting a drug addiction. And so wherever he was, he had been on, a bender, so to speak. He was coming for help. And I was at the moment, and this is a huge regret I had, I was more worried about, like, I can't believe, I let this guy come to my house. He's in my backyard. I have a family. What a dumb idea. I have no idea what this guy's capabilities could be. Like, what if it comes back to break in for money for drugs, rather than focus on, this guy's coming for help. He's obviously in a destitute situation that he's reaching out to me, a client of his, not like a family member or a close friend. And I gave him some advice and kind of pushed him out the door. That night, he committed suicide. And so I don't blame myself for that, but I do blame myself for, like, could I have changed that? I was so focused on me rather than him, that if we as humans on this planet, the statistical probability of you being in existence is infinitely impossible, that we're all here right now. And so if we're just focused on ourselves, we miss the whole purpose of being here. That's why we're here, and that's why we're doing this, I think.
You might think, well, what is holding a door open or saying hello to someone? What the fuck difference is that going to make? But on their own, they're not. But cumulatively, over generations and over the population of the world, will makes a huge difference. And in the same way that I said, is there scope for the governments and the politicians to be toppled because they're not built by love? And I think, well, a part of me really, really hopes so, because there's got to be something better than what's there at the moment. And I know that I can vision it, I can see it, and I can be it by focusing on building by love.
Yeah, change starts now, and it starts here.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Built by Love podcast. If you found the conversation inspiring or helpful in any way, then head to builtbylove.com/podcast and make sure you're subscribed to our email list. Please also take a few minutes to leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, and share this episode with a friend that you think it might help. Each review helps us to spread the message of love to more people. See you next time on the Built by Love podcast.